What's up? What's happening? What's good? My name is Jared, and this is the Jared Show Knowledge Podcast. In this episode, we're going to have to put a mask on and get into Corona. Now, I'm not actually going to wear a mask during this because I'm sitting in this room, but we're going to have to do it. It's going to have to happen. This is not an ad for a beer commercial, nor is it an ad for the government. Unfortunately, it's real life, and it gets weirder by the day. So, let's get weird.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls,
The Jared Show.
want to change the world.
Oh man, do I really have to do this episode? I don't really want to do this episode. I'd rather go check out TheJarredShow.com, grab a t-shirt, and go chill on the beach. But yeah, actually, speaking of t-shirts, I just got my first t-shirt in. This is the first edition of this one. I think I can do better. I'm going to try to do better, but I kind of dig it as is. You're not going to get the full effect. When you look at it online, you can see it a little bit better. But this is the first edition of this shirt here. I'll show it to you real quick. It is the Enjoy the Show t-shirt. On the back is just TheJarredShow.com. Let people know. And go check them out. Like I said, I'm going to try to do a little bit better. I'm going to do some more funky fonts and different colors and all that kind of thing. I just dig this t-shirt, so I just went ahead and got it. But go check it out. JarredShow.com. And I'd rather take this t-shirt, go chill on the beach, and hang out. But yeah, we are all doing this episode, and it's coronavirus, and we're all caught in the middle of it. Unfortunately, it's got to be done, laddie. It's just got to be done. Duh, Corona. Wow, what a crazy time this has been. I tell you what, I think we're gonna have to, in the first section, we're gonna have to do a little recapping. Go over how the Rona has changed things, what life is like now, and what things may be going on in the future. Also, I kind of want to slide into something I found that I think that's interesting. I'm not sure a whole lot of people know about. And I think, this is what this podcast is all about, is knowledge. I want to get into it. Some people may not like it. Some people may shut it off. Definitely YouTube's not going to like anything of what I'm talking about. There's that. We'll have to deal with that. But, it's just the way life goes, man. I mean, you got to get stuff out there. This podcast is all about knowledge. We're trying to get stuff out there and learn and grow and, do better. So, I think the thing that I've found that's interesting, we're going to get into in the last section, really in the last probably, I don't know, I'd say 8 or 9 minutes of the podcast. It's something that happened right before Corona went from being a beer to a worldwide pandemic. So stay tuned and we'll be right back. Bruh, did you see that guy's shirt, man? It says enjoy the show. So sick, bro. That's not the one I got, though, man. I got the shirt that says above the mess. Yeah, bro. Way up there. This dude's got some sick shirts, though, bro. Go check out TheJarredShow.com to get one now, bro. Don't miss out, man. Welcome back, pandemic peoples. Okay, so let's get a little recap since this whole thing has been going on most of the year. And this is weird. Going through this whole thing was really odd after I got done all of, recapping everything, and then I kind of read it back to myself as I wrote down this podcast. It was weird. It was like reading a science fiction novel or the script off of science fiction movies. It's very odd. A lot has happened in the last 4 months. We're going to recap the majority of it. I think we're going to leave some things out for the sake of time and for continuity. But so let's get into it. I usually don't watch much infotainment, aka the news, since how the news is basically all about ratings and not really about information. So at the beginning of everything, I really wasn't up on all of the craziness that was emerging around the world and really the storm that was headed our way. And honestly, I'm kind of glad that I wasn't in on all that stuff. The latest depressing world gone crazy pandemic updates are everywhere anyway, right? So for me, I was kind of all right with it. Eventually it started to kind of seep into things, and really for me it kind of hit me in about mid-March, and I just wasn't up on everything that was going on. And I remember I'd seen some things on like the interwebs, the internet, and that was interesting about the Rona, but it was really something that was way out there, and to me it was kind of like a storm on the horizon that over the sea. It's there, it's headed your way, but you can't really, it's kind of hard to tell which direction that storm is moving, how fast it's going, and when and if it will actually hit you. And so for me, Rona was kind of this storm that was out there, and I really had heard about it a little bit, and it wasn't really that big a deal. The Rona whirlwind actually hit me while I was watching a basketball game. I don't really remember what basketball game it is. I think it was, I don't even remember what it was, but I wasn't even paying much attention to the actual game. I just had it on the background, and actually was kind of hoping the NBA season would be kind of like a video game, where I could just skip to the end of a really losing season with the Golden State Warriors, my team, and all of a sudden there it was. It was kind of like everything started shutting down, and they were like, okay, we're not playing anymore. And that was crazy. I mean, all of a sudden, I think it was March 11th, the NBA shut down. They said we're not playing anymore. They postponed everything, which is great. They're actually back now, which is awesome. And they're into the postseason. It's great. A lot of sports are back now, actually, but back then you were kind of like, okay, what's gonna happen here? And with the NBA, it was the now infamous Rudy G of the Utah Jazz, and he was kind of the first spark that turned really into a big wildfire of big names that had Corona, not just in the NBA, but everywhere. I mean, you had Tom Hanks and his wife over in Australia and all that kind of stuff. And then all of a sudden, soon everybody, all sports were starting to shut down. They canceled March Madness, and all this stuff was kind of hitting us all at once, and everybody was tripping. I mean, just like, what is going on? What are we gonna deal with? And come to find out, that was really only the beginning of just utter craziness. Stores started closing. All of a sudden, toilet paper was just nowhere to be seen. That was insane. I actually got some paper towels, what little I could find, just for a little peace of mind, if you will. I actually never used them, but everybody's freaking out. I was like, well, I guess we better get some. I mean, what are we gonna do? But what was even crazier, so all the stores started shutting down, and then everything started shutting down, and everything started getting kind of surreal, especially when you watched TV, especially when you go out into public and see like just empty streets. It was really odd. It was like we were in some kind of end of the world movie and nobody told us about it. I mean, it's really weird. People all around the world were shutting up inside of their houses with orders to stay inside and stay safe. I remember when those first started coming on, I traveled down highways quite often to go to work, to go do my work during the day, and we would see on the way to work, we would see these signs on the thing that usually tell you, you know, don't drink and drive and da da da. And now it was all about, you know, stay home and stay safe and all this kind of stuff. You know, all of a sudden you had TV shows started being broadcast from people's houses, like Jimmy Fallon and, you know, all these different people started realizing, like, okay, well, we're not going to be able to go back to work and the show must go on, so we're going to have to do something. So, you know, late night talk shows started doing stuff from their house, and along with many other shows, and still are, really. The streets of New York, LA, and many other big cities looked like a post-apocalyptic movie, just deserted, void of any people. Times Square was empty. I think it probably still is empty, I'm not sure, but that was crazy to see. That was wild to see. And it was kind of like, what if you've ever watched the beginning of Vanilla Sky. Great movie, by the way. Go check that out. Little shout out for Vanilla Sky. A little Tom Cruise action there, but yeah, that was wild. It was like watching Vanilla Sky, but it was in real life. It was weird. It was like the very beginning where there's like nobody. Like he comes out in his, you know, amazing badass car, and he's looking around and he's like, where is everybody? You know, in New York City, it was just like that. It's crazy. I've actually been to Times Square, and to see it empty like that, it's just surreal. It's kind of hard to grasp that concept. Yeah, and it was all really kind of hard to grasp. It was all pretty surreal, kind of like a movie. March, things started shutting down. April, people started getting worried, and good old Uncle Sam said, wait a minute, people, hold my beer and let me take out my wallet and hook you up so you can go get some ice cream from that weird guy from the truck. And that was it. We were like, oh, okay, all right, cool, you know, appreciate it. And as April came and went, people had money. Unemployment was paying out a fat chunk of change, and most bills like rent, mortgage, and utilities were suspended. We couldn't really go anywhere, but we could sure spend some money on Amazon and buy, you know, crazy things we'll never use, like fitness equipment and all that kind of stuff. In May, people seemed a bit more resilient. Yes, there's a pandemic going on, but it's cool. You know, I'm making twice as much money to stay home and watch Netflix, so, you know, that's fine. Whatever, you know, we'll get over it. And then May 25th happened, and George Floyd died. And may George Floyd rest in peace. It was unfair what happened to him. I have my own private thoughts of the whole incident, but I don't think anybody deserves to die in that manner. So I think everything that happened there was wrong, and maybe I'll do a podcast on that, or maybe it's just good enough to say that, you know, it was not okay what happened to George Floyd. And yeah, after that, things got pretty crazy, and, you know, rightfully so. I mean, I think people went from worried with a silver lining. You know, we can't go to work, but we're kind of getting some money on the side here. A lot of people were actually making more money than they had been making. But I think when George Floyd died, I think people went from worried to just downright scared, and all hell broke loose. And I think people got scared because they saw a policeman kill someone right in the street in front of all of them, in front of everybody. And it scared us. I mean, it really, you know, I really don't think we as a people were really ready for that. We as a nation, we as, you know, human beings, were really ready for the implications of what that meant. I don't think people knew what to make of it. You know, and that fear yielded into protests. You know, people were outraged, you know, and rightly so, and they still are. I mean, things are still going on. In the middle of a pandemic where we're supposed to be 6 feet apart, when we occasionally go outside and only when necessary, here comes a large groups of people taking to the streets, standing arm in arm to stand up for people of color against the man or against police. And rightfully so, but it was interesting to see those two things juxtaposed like that, to see, right in the middle of the pandemic and everybody's scared and worried, and then all of a sudden here we are protesting and burning things down and these kind of things. And I think that fear turned to anger eventually, and the peaceful protest really turned to an opportunity for people to take and destroy. Riots started all over the country and really all over the world. If you go back and look, there were riots all over the place in different embassies around the the U.S. embassies in different countries, and people really flipped out. I mean, and again, rightfully so. I mean, yes, there's a pandemic going on, but when you see a policeman kill somebody like that, and it seems to be a systemic, ongoing thing. It's like you see with the NBA players wearing, the stuff on their back saying, "When is enough enough?" People flipped out, and rightfully so. And then in June, I think it started in June 6th, I think. Or 8th, you had 6 blocks of Seattle, Washington were taken over by protesters, really for all of June. I mean, it ended in, I think, July 1st. You had 6 blocks of Seattle taken over, and the month of June was kind of sad. You had protests, you have riots, and protests and riots are not the same, right? The protesters are standing up for something that we all need to stand up for, which is, respect for every ethnicity, but especially for black people. I mean, black people are dealing with things that a lot of us are not. And so, yeah, it's true. We have to stand up for that and say, no, this is wrong. We need to change that mentality. No question. And those protests led to the people that wanted to be opportunistic and use those protests to gain something out of it. And that's what led to riots. It wasn't protests that led to riots. It was the avenue that people that wanted to riot and loot and take all these things saw, and so they kind of went for it. But like I said, I mean, June was a little sad. You had all these sad graduations and, people riding by in cars and honking, and it was like, what is this, I hope that doesn't happen again. I guess we'll see. And then towards the middle of June, towards the end maybe of June, we had a glimmer of normalcy in the form of sports planning to make a comeback, namely the NBA. So we went into July, kind of, okay, what's this going to be like? What are we going to do? By the time we got to July 4th, July 4th kind of came and went. I know personally for me, July 4th was actually kind of cool. There's a park right near my house, and all these people gathered and had their own fireworks show, and it was right down the road. It was great. That was actually kind of cool. But I feel like publicly, July 4th kind of came and went. It was kind of, everybody's at home anyway, or you went to like little public, little gathering type things. I mean, it just kind of went by, and I don't know, it was actually kind of nice, I guess. July seemed like we really couldn't make up our minds. Things began to really kind of reopen, or at least where I am in the southeast, and things started reopening a little bit. Some of the country started kind of reacting to that reopening. Some people thought it was kind of crazy and stupid to do that, and still do. Some people needed it, they needed to get back to work. They needed to go make money, and still do. I know California is pretty much shut down from what I've heard from friends. And some just still stayed home in July, and still do. And at the very end of July, the NBA came back. August slid in with all of it kind of still going on, minus the Capitol Hill Autonomous Zone, or CHAZ, which ended July 1st. Now in August we got sports again, which is good. Things are open, but we all have to wear masks everywhere we go, so it's kind of weird. I know I feel weird. I know I feel weird kind of going into a gas station to buy stuff and putting on a face mask before I go into the gas station. I feel like I'm going to rob the place. It's just weird. It's just odd. Yeah, the U.S. is by far the most infected and has the highest death toll due to good old COVID-1984. I'm just calling it that. It's interesting the times that we live in at the moment. And yeah, I mean, things are interesting. We're going to get into a look at what life is like now. How have things changed? And we'll start looking toward the future while trying to learn from the past. And we're going to do that right when we get back. We'll be back after this. In a world gone straight up insane in the membrane, one man dares to sit in a tiny chair and drink Mountain Dew. The Jared Show Instagram page. One post, but more coming soon. And welcome back, Zoom people and Skype users. What up, though? I can't really believe everything I just went over, right? Like, the riots and the protests, all of that has happened in 4 months. Isn't that crazy? Right? Seriously. I mean, is this some kind of movie? Are we being pranked? Because, we got it. I mean, you got me, you got us. You got what you came for. You got the scared shot. You got the indignant shot. You got the worried turn to chill because of money shot. You got the crazy shot. Documentary over. Prank over. Can we, time to pack it up and get to editing, because, I'm not sure there's much more track left on this emotional roller coaster we seem to be on. But the show must go on. So where are we at now? It's mid-August, towards the end of August, and life is just strange. It's just weird, isn't it? Things are just odd. I really think people just don't know how to react to the situation we find ourselves in. And, going to the grocery store has gotten weird. It's a quick in and out kind of thing. Get what you need, get in, get out. I was talking to my mom about this, and she was telling me up where she lives, the grocery store used to be kind of like the community center, right? Like you would go in, see all your peoples, and you're there, and you'd stop for a minute and chat. And now it's kind of like recess is kind of turned into detention, isn't it? Like no talking, keep going, get what you need, and get out, get going. It's like, it's weird, I mean, stores are open, but it's just strange. I mean, people don't seem to really want to go shopping or whatever, really want to mill, out and about. I'm near the beach, and the beach is open, but you can't have a chair or a cooler. Again, it's like, do what you got to do and move on. Oh, you want to go running? Okay, do what you got to do. Okay, you want to walk? All right, that's great, but no loitering, no lollygagging. And just as a side note, I think that's the last time I'm gonna try to use that term, lollygagging. I mean, it's a weird thing to say, right? Gagging on a... Anyway, it's weird. I don't think I'm gonna use that again. Speaking of weird, things are just odd. Things are strange. Some states and people in those states are still on lockdown, California being one of them. Some places are starting to be pretty wide open. But masks are mandatory. If you don't wear one, you get fined. I mean, that's odd. That's weird. Like, that's, again, like some kind of dystopian, post-apocalyptic, 1984 kind of weird movie we're in. And here's the thing. Let's talk about schools, schoolies. Yeah, schools are weird. I mean, we've gotten back into school in the last week or two. They're open, but it's kind of an online thing. Some schools are going back, some are not. I know out in California they're not. I actually know a great dude who is in his senior year of high school in a sleepy little beach town in California who is having to have his senior year online. And, you know, it's kind of a shame because being a senior is like being the king of the school, man. You know? You get to come and go whenever you want to, looked up to by every other grade. You know, you get prom, you know, all that kind of stuff. Walking down the aisle. And, you know, what about senior ditch day, man? I mean, how are you going to have senior ditch day when it's online? You know what I mean? Like, plus you can't go anywhere anyway. That kind of sucks, right? Here's the thing, though. He's a smart guy. And I'm sure whatever he ends up doing will be way bigger and better than being a cool senior in high school. So I'm sure he'll be just fine. You know, if it's any consolation, man, if you're out there listening, if it's any consolation, I never got to do any of that stuff either. And I can tell you, you know, you don't really miss it all that much. Every once in a while, I look back and wonder about, you know, prom, going to prom and all that stuff. But for the most part, you know, graduating and all those things, for the most part, those that are looking forward don't have much time or reason to look back and pout about how life should be or should have been. So at the end of the day, I think you'd be just fine, man. And, you know, that mentality, you know, not looking back and pouting, I think maybe that's how we should all be looking at this whole thing. Let's not look back and pout about how the Rona has ruined this year or has ruined this or that. You know, let's look forward to what's gonna be happening. In order to do that, though, first, we got to gain a bit of a broader view of this situation. We'll take a look at that. We're going to look back a little bit at an interesting event that happened right before the beginning of 2020 and how it is shaped and will shape what's going on. And we'll be right back after this. Hey there, I'd like to take a minute to acknowledge that this is a deep episode and these things are serious. There is a lot of crazy things going on and it may be hard to process everything. If you'd like some help, you can go check out the other podcast, the Jared Show Wisdom Podcast. On the Wisdom Podcast, we talk about psychology and how things work. We'll get deep into the human condition and how we can take a deep breath and look at things as a whole instead of being hit with more bad news every week and letting a mental wall of confusion build up. Before we continue this episode, I'd like to say that what you are about to hear is very important information. Please look these things up for yourself and form your own opinions. Now, back to the show. Welcome back, pandemic peoples and knowledge seekers. Okay, get ready, buckle up, man, because this is about to get pretty deep. All right, you know, get ready for a big old heaping helping of knowledge here, because I don't think a lot of people know this, and if you do, cool, tell me about it. Let me know what you think about all this stuff. Yeah, we're gonna get into an event that happened in October of 2019 that I think is just really interesting. I think it's interesting how eerily similar things are to then and now, and I want to talk about it. I think it needs to be talked about. It needs to be said. So if you're not interested, this is as far as you want to go, that's cool. That's fine, you know? As far as I'm concerned, I think this is kind of what this show's about, is to get knowledge out there and just pure facts. I'm not trying to twist your brain or twist your arms, right? So enough jibber jabber. Let's just jump into it. You ready? I think sometimes in order to understand the situation you're in a bit more clearly, you got to go back and look at how you got to where you're at. In the first part, we started how things went from calm to storm in a matter of weeks. But that's not where the story begins. This pandemic begins. Did you say Wuhan, China? No. This story begins in New York City in October, more specifically on October 18th, 2019. And it's an event called Event 201. Right? Now I'm going to leave links to everything that I'm talking about here. And it's going to be, we're going to go over some of this in length because I think you need to know this. Anybody that listens to this now, anybody that listens to this in the future, please pay attention to this. All right? Go check this out for yourself. You can go onto it right now. Go Google Event 201, even if you don't listen to everything I'm about to tell you. But I'm going to go ahead and break this down for you because I think it's interesting. Maybe you have heard of this. Maybe you haven't. But if you haven't, listen closely and check this out. On October 18th, 2019, the Johns Hopkins Center for Health Security, in partnership with the World Economic Forum and the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, hosted Event 201, a high-level pandemic exercise in New York City. Now, the exercise illustrated areas where public-private partnerships will be necessary during the response to a severe pandemic in order to diminish large-scale economic and societal consequences. Now, everything I just read comes directly from their website, okay? Event 201 website. And a lot of what I'm going to read comes directly from what they're saying on that website. Before we get into the actual exercise and the scenario they ran through and all that stuff, I want to note some of the players involved in this little quote-unquote exercise or game. So I'm going to run down a list of all these people that were at this exercise, at this thing in New York City on October 18th, 2019. Okay? You had George Fu Gao, the Director General of the Chinese Center for Disease Control and Prevention. You have Stephen C. Redd, the Deputy Director for Public Health Services and Implementation Science of the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. That is basically a representative from the U.S. CDC. You have the Director of the Chinese CDC, are both at this exercise. 2019, October 18th. Here's where things get tied together. You have Sophia Borges, the UN Foundation's Senior Vice President and head of the New York office. In this role, she serves, and I'm reading directly from what they're saying on the website. In this role, she serves as Chief Liaison with the United Nations leadership and the diplomatic community, working to identify new opportunities for building and deepening partnerships with a range of stakeholders, as well as overseeing initiatives with the private sector and managing engagement with other organizations. As a member of the UN Foundation leadership team, she also provides overall guidance and participates in the development of long-term strategy for the foundation. Prior to joining the UN Foundation, Ms. Borges held the position of Deputy Chief de Cabinet to the President of the 72nd session of the UN General Assembly, okay, and served in the cabinet of the President of the 71st session of the UN General Assembly as Special Advisor on Strategic Engagement and Transparency. Very interesting, okay? So this is her third way of being part of sessions of the UN General Assembly, right? So now she's moved up to the ladder. She's now the UN Foundation Senior Vice President and head of the New York office, right? Which is where the UN itself is situated in New York City, okay? There's other different parts in Geneva and all these kind of things, but the UN is basically based out of the New York, okay? Going down this little list here, Brad Conant, Okay. Currently serves as president of Henry Schein's U.S. I don't know how to say that, but Henry Schein's U.S. Medical Group, one of the nation's leading providers of products and services to physician offices. Sorry, physician, right? Come on, spit it out, boy. Urgent care clinics, retail clinics, freestanding emergency rooms, integrated delivery networks, ambulatory surgery centers, and other alternate care sites. He is a member of the company's executive management committee. Basically, he is a member of the company's executive management committee. Basically, he's a representative of a large medical supply company. Okay? Going down this list, it gets even crazier. Martin Knuckle. I don't exactly know how to say his name. You can go look at the website. You can go see all these people for yourself. Read exactly what I'm reading to you now. Martin Knuckle, however you say his name, is Senior Director and Head of Crisis, Emergency, and Business Continuity Management for Lufthansa Group Airlines, right? So you have Group Airlines. So you have a representative from the airlines. Going down the list, Eduardo Martinez, President of the UPS Foundation and UPS Chief Diversity and Inclusion Officer. So a representative for transportation. Okay. Here's where things get crazy. Hasti Taghai, the Vice President and Executive Advisor at NBC Universal Media Company. Okay. Keep going. It gets even crazier. Adrian Thompson serves as Vice President of Global Public Health at Johnson & Johnson. He is responsible for global public health programs and strategy addressing global health security threats and pandemic preparedness, including antimicrobial resistance, AMR, multi-drug resistance, tuberculosis, MDR-TB, Ebola, dengue fever, HIV vaccines, amongst others. So now that we know the players of the game, all right, now let's sum this up. So you have the director of the Chinese CDC, you have a representative, Stephen C. Red, basically a deputy director of the United States CDC. You have Sophia Borges, which is the Vice President and head of the New York office of the UN Foundation, right? United Nations. You have a Brad Conant, which is basically a representative of big medical groups, of big medical supply companies. You have Michael Knuckle, or however you say his name. He comes from the airlines. You have UPS. You have NBC Universal, basically media company. You have the media. You have Adrian Thompson, which is the Vice President of Global Health for Johnson & Johnson, right? You have all these people in the same room, right? Now, let's go on to what they were doing, okay? Because, I get it. All the same people doing the same thing, whatever. Who gives a shit, right? Let's get into what they had going on, what they were actually doing. What exactly is Event 201? What are they involved in? So Event 201 was a quote-unquote training exercise in which a global pandemic broke out. And I'm just going to read straight from the website here, okay? I'm going to leave you a link in the description so you can go check it out for yourself, all right? But I'm just going to read straight about the Event 201 exercise. This is the About page on the 201 event website, okay? Event 201 was a 3.5-hour pandemic tabletop exercise that simulated a series of dramatic, scenario-based, facilitated discussions confronting difficult, true-to-life dilemmas associated with the response to a hypothetical but scientifically plausible pandemic. 15 global business, government, and public health leaders were quote-unquote players players in the simulation exercise that highlighted unresolved real-world policy and economic issues that could be solved with sufficient political will, financial investment, and attention now and in the future. The exercise consisted of pre-recorded news broadcasts, live staff briefings, and moderate discussion on specific topics. Now you can go watch the entire event. I think it's like 3.5 hours, like 4 hours. You can watch the entire thing straight through. Right? And let me keep going here though. So these issues were carefully designed in a compelling narrative that educated the participants and the audience. So you can go see what they were watching, right? These fake news broadcasts, right? Very interesting, by the way. And here's the scenario they laid out in all of this stuff to these people and in the website. Okay, again, reading straight from the website. Event 201 simulates an outbreak of a novel zoonotic coronavirus transmitted from bats to pigs to people that eventually became efficiently transmittable from person to person, leading to a severe pandemic. The pathogen and disease it causes are modeled largely on SARS, but is more transmittable in the community setting by people with mild symptoms. Now, let me break in here real quick. If you go look at these videos, the thing that they call it is called CAPS, or Coronavirus Associated Pulmonary Syndrome, CAPS. So really, they are talking about coronavirus, right, in this simulation. The disease starts in a pig farms in Brazil quietly and slowly at first, but then it starts to spread more rapidly in healthcare settings. When it starts to spread efficiently from person to person in low-income, densely packed neighborhoods of some of the megacities in South America, the epidemic explodes. In its first exported by air travel to Portugal, the United States, and China, and then many other countries. Although at first some countries are able to control it, it continues to spread and be reintroduced, and eventually no country can maintain control. There is no possibility of a vaccine being available in the first year. There is a fictional antiviral drug that can help the sick but not significantly limit spread of the disease. Since the whole human population is susceptible, during the initial months of the pandemic, the cumulative number of cases increases exponentially, doubling every week. And as the cases and deaths accumulate, the economic and societal consequences become increasingly severe. The scenario ends at the 18-month point with 65 million deaths. The pandemic is beginning to slow due to the decreasing number of susceptible persons. The pandemic will continue at some rate until there is an effective vaccine or until 80 to 90% of the global population has been exposed. From that point on, it is likely to be an endemic childhood disease. Okay? So let's get this straight. All right? If you're still listening to all this and you're going through all this, thank you. If you hear all this stuff, go check this stuff out, pass it along, please. But let's get this straight, you and me, right now. Okay? Let's get this straight. So in October of 2019, the leaders of the Chinese CDC, Center for Disease Control, a deputy director for the US CDC, representative from the UN Foundation, or the UN basically, representatives from the airline industry, the transportation industry, medical supply industry, media industry, i.e. the NBC Universal Media Company, and many others gathered in New York City, let's remember that, to run a scenario where a disease called coronavirus breaks out after being transmitted from animals to humans, then spreads around the world, causing mass amounts of death and economic fallout. Is that about right? Let's look at what happened just 6 weeks later. Coronavirus, or COVID-19, the full name of that being Coronavirus Disease 2019. That's why it's called COVID-19, right? Because it was quote unquote discovered in 2019 breaks out in China because of an animal sold at a market, thought to be bats. It spreads rapidly, causing the whole world to grind to a halt, with no vaccine in sight for at least a year. All this sounds a bit odd, doesn't it? Just a little weird. Let me be very clear here, okay? I want to make this very clear. Now, what I'm saying is what I'm not saying, okay? Please understand what I'm saying right now. I am not saying coronavirus is fake. I'm not saying that, okay? I'm not saying that this is all one big conspiracy. At least maybe not yet. What I am saying is this is something worth looking into for yourself and drawing really your own conclusions, right? I'm not here to draw conclusions for you. I'm just here to present you with things that are interesting. This is interesting, right? We're going to break this down just a little bit more and compare, right? But this is weird, is it not? I mean, it's just a little strange, right? Here's the thing with me, right? The conclusions I've come to after watching the official video, and I haven't watched the whole thing. You can go online, you can go on YouTube, right, and watch the highlights. You can actually get the highlights straight from the website. You can go to the website and actually watch all the videos for yourself if you want to. I happened to just check it out on YouTube because I was in the middle of doing everything. But after watching, the highlights in these official videos put out by this organization, it's actually from the organization on YouTube. Okay, so it's not somebody doctored it and it says a bunch of weird stuff. It's from the organization itself on YouTube, right? Looking around on this website, and after looking a bit more closely at who attended this event, I think everything we are going through right now was planned out, okay? You can call that a conspiracy, you can call it whatever you want to, okay? What I'm saying is this is odd, is it not? It's a little strange. And I think it was planned out. I think if you look at the people involved and what has happened and what's going on around us, it's hard not to see that, right? Now, for what reason and all these things, I don't know everything. I'm just telling you the things that I'm looking at, right? If you have the director of the CDC has come to New York to run a training exercise about a worldwide pandemic called coronavirus, and then 6 weeks later it actually happens, something is a little off there, okay? You can blame it on China, you can blame it on whoever you want to. Personally, I don't blame it on China. I think, there's a reason that CDC officer is coming to New York and the UN, and all these people are meeting together, right? Anyway, I'll get into a little bit deeper into my thoughts and what I get into when it comes to conspiracy and all that kind of stuff in just a second. But I think what's more important is what does all this mean for our future? What's the plan here? I'd like to really get into all these things, my thoughts on all of this stuff and kind of what the plan is. We've already been going for quite a while. I think we're going to have to save it for the next episode. We've already been going for quite a while, so I think we're going to have to save all of that stuff for the next episode. Next episode is not a conspiracy theory thing. Let me put this out there to you right now. I'm not here to tell you a bunch of phony crapola. This isn't what this is about. Everything I just read to you is knowledge, right? This is really something that happened. It's not me making it out more than it is. I think it's odd that 6 weeks before we have a global pandemic with something called coronavirus, these particular people, are running a scenario with the same thing. If you have looked into conspiracy theories before, you might say it's not really out of the normal, out of all these different things. But stick with me. Next episode on Tuesday, we're going to get into a little bit of my idea of what, how to deal with conspiracy theories, because Some are conspiracy theories, some are just nutballs, tinfoil wearing hat, crapola, okay? And that's just the way it is, right? But some things we gotta, you gotta pay attention to and say, wait a second, that's odd. So we're gonna get into what are they talking? What is this organization that 6 weeks before a global pandemic came out, they said this is what's going to happen? What are they talking about? And really, how is that gonna match up to reality, right? Here's the thing: I don't think 65 million people are gonna die right now. I don't think it's gonna be like that, So we're gonna break down kind of what they're talking about in their scenario, and then what I really think will kind of actually happen. We just don't have enough time. We've been going for long enough on this one. So, yeah, check us out on Tuesday. Come check it out, and we'll see where we go from here. But I think, in this episode, let's summarize this episode for us real quick. Before we get to the next one coming on Tuesday. In this episode, we have traveled back to when the pandemic first hit home and kind of reached out and said, hey, you, stay at home. Right? We traveled through a couple of crazy months, really. All of the crazy, and it's not really even over. I mean, there's still a lot going on. But we traveled back through those crazy months to get to the present day. We've seen kind of what the present day is like right now. Kids are kind of going to school. We're kind of trying to reopen. We got one foot in, one foot out. We're really not sure how we're doing things right now. And I think really we've peeled back a curtain on some things and revealed some things I think a lot of people ought to know, regardless of what you think. If you don't like to hear conspiracy theories, I think every once in a while on this channel, on YouTube, I think on this podcast, it's a knowledge-based podcast. We get to have some fun. We can talk about whatever, man, whatever, right? Basketball and sports and stuff I've learned in life and memories and stuff like that. But, why shy away from this stuff, man? I don't want to shy away from this stuff. I want to put it out there. If it's something we're all dealing with, and it's something as weird as all of this Event 201 stuff, why not put it out there, man? Why not have a conversation about it? We don't have to, that's not the only thing we're going to talk about, right? But I don't want to shy away from it. I might as well, go get it, put a suit and tie on, go, work at a regular news organization like Fox News or CNN or somebody. Those people are scared. I'm just some dude sitting in a, with a green screen behind me, like, why should I be scared about it? You know what I mean? The only thing is, I just don't want to push the audience away. I'm not trying to, get you to believe in all the conspiracy stuff. I'm just putting information in front of you. What you do with it is up to you. You can disregard it or you can go check it out. Personally, I think you ought to check it out. I think it's interesting. Where do we go from here? I think, we need to get into, and we will. But, yeah, let's get going forward on Tuesday. Check out the part 2 of this. Please. If anything, tune in every Sunday and Tuesday at 10 p.m. I try to get on here at 10 p.m. every Sunday and Tuesday, 7 p.m. Pacific. Get new episodes. And like I said, some days we'll have some fun. Or really some weeks. I try to do things, per week. And that's what this week is. This week is about coronavirus, Next week might be about, the best pizza I've ever eaten in my life. I try to make things, kind of mix things up. I don't want to just, put junk out there for you to consume. But at the same time, I'm not trying to be super serious all the time. So let me know what you think. By the way, I want to let everybody know this. I hooked up with this dude, a friend of mine from way back. I got to shout out to my man, Jeremy BeatDrop, chilling like a million. What up, though? What's up, Jeremy BeatDrop? How you doing, bro? What up, man? What's up, bro? Good to see you, man. What's up, dude? Sorry I had to shout you out in this one. Maybe I'll shout you out in a more fun one. How about that, bro? Hope you're doing well, dude. Hope you and your family are doing well, bro. Thanks for getting in touch with me. I'm glad you're listening if you're out there. I hope you made it this far. Yeah, thanks for listening, bro. I appreciate you, man. Here's the thing, everybody out there, man, check it out. Go get you a shirt, bro. I'm gonna do some really cool shirts. Like I said, this is the first edition. I'm gonna try to hook this up, get some crazy lettering in there and stuff like that. Go check out TheJarredShow.com. You can actually check out both podcasts at The Jared Show. Kind of everything in one place. Get some cool gear. Check it out, bro. Check it out. Thanks for listening. Jeremy, I see you, bro. What's up? All the peoples out there, thank you for listening. I hope everyone out there is doing well, staying healthy and happy while moving forward in life. No matter what it takes. Bro, no matter what it takes, you got to keep moving forward. Thank you for listening. I hope you're moving forward. As always, and in all ways, may God bless you. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls,
The Jared Show.